Hello friends of darkness, it is I, Ryazine, and welcome to today's video. Today I have 3 stories by the author Arteezy. 3 scary stories meant to keep you up at night. So enjoy these stories. Sit back and listen. Visiting an abandoned church. If you ever feel the need to visit an abandoned church in the dead of night, my first advice would be not to. But you are a stubborn one, aren't you? So you were going to do it anyway. Fine. Let me give you some advice to survive the night. First of all, it's clear that if you are there, you are either a thrill seeker or trying to complete some mystical, creepy ritual, or both. Either case, the key word here is cautiousness. If at any point you feel shivers begin running up and down your body, or get goosebumps, or worse still, feel someone staring at you from the shadows, get out. I'm serious. Whatever you are looking for there isn't worth your life. Another word of caution. Don't enter the confessional. Whatever is hiding in there is not a priest, and to be perfectly honest, it may not even be a human being. If you feel the urge to confess all of a sudden, reevaluate your life choices and wait till the daytime. Also, visit an official church and not one abandoned decades ago. If you do step into the confessionary and begin speaking to the voice behind the grilled wall, don't believe a word he says. He is a liar, a manipulator, and his intentions far from kind. Now, there might be wine waiting for you at the altar. Drinking it would be a monumentally bad idea. It will taste divine, yes, but at what cost? Don't forget to leave somewhere between midnight and dawn. Whatever is lurking there will be happy to keep you as their guest for far longer than you wish to stay, unless you follow this rule. The altar is the ideal place to kneel down and pray. But beware chatting with other penitents that might be asking the inevitably inverted cross for otherworldly favors. They might be human, yes, foolish enough to be there just like you. But they might be the same kind of creature that lurks inside the confessionary. Finally, before you leave, I might have lied to you in these instructions only once. It's up to you to figure out what advice you shouldn't follow. Your life could very well depend on it. BlackEyed Kids. It was just a regular night. I'd like to say that I noticed some bad signs or that it was raining and thunder roared through the sky, but that would be a lie. It was a normal, uneventful night, and I was walking back from my best friend's apartment. To tell you the truth, it wasn't even that late. Perhaps around 10 p.m. I was listening to some music and minding my own business. After all, I always considered that neighborhood to be rather safe. When I first noticed them, I found it odd that 3 kids so young would be walking around without their parents at this time of night. They couldn't be older than 8 or 9. They were well dressed, so they clearly weren't homeless. There were 2 boys and a little girl, who was a bit younger and very petite, though they very clearly weren't intimidating. I suddenly felt a rush of dread fill over me. As the little girl began walking toward me, I pressed pause and the music stopped. Why was the city suddenly so silent? Even at this time of night, cars should be driving by and some people should be strolling down the block. But suddenly I realized there was no one around. No one but the kids and myself, that was. "Good night, miss," the girl greeted me, and even if her voice was innocent and sweet, I immediately cringed and took a step back. Why was I scared of this cute, small girl? I couldn't put my finger on it, but I could still feel my heart beating so fast. I began worrying I would have a heart attack. Hi?" I replied, hesitantly. Usually, I would have asked her where her parents were, or offer some assistance. But all I wanted to do was get the hell away from there. My apartment was only a block away and I seriously considered just running toward it. "Miss, we need to use a phone to call our parents. Could you let us into your house, please?" She was so polite. And yet something about the way she stared, the way they stared at me, almost without blinking, unnerved me. I was trembling. I hadn't even noticed it up until that point, but I certainly did then. I was afraid for my life, and I couldn't figure out why. Once again, the idea of running away from them just crossed my mind. But before I could even open my mouth to answer, one of the boys spoke. "There's no need for that. We just need to use your phone." It was as if they had read my mind. I looked down at the kid in shock, and that's when I noticed it. How could have I missed it before? Their eyes were pitch black, without any color to them, without an iris, just black. I gasped and took a step back before rushing away from the three creatures. By then I was certain they weren't kids. Fumbling with my keys, I managed to open my front door and rush inside my home, completely out of breath. I was in good physical shape, but still the run there had completely exhausted me for some reason. Behind me, I could hear their tiny steps, and immediately after, a sharp knock on my door. "Let us in, miss," the little girl screamed. She was no longer asking. She was demanding, "You have to let us in." I stepped away from the door immediately, shaking my head. I felt this strange, foreign impulse to open the door, to obey. But I grabbed my arm with my other hand and forced myself to move away. "No. Leave before I call the police." All I heard outside were giggles. Cruel, inhuman giggling. "They can't help you out, miss. Just open the door." They are still out there, knocking, demanding I let them in. The power has gone out and my phone battery is almost fully drained. I've tried calling my friends, but I can't get a signal. I've texted them, but none of them are answering. I'm just waiting for daylight to arrive. I hope they will be gone by then. The footsteps. She didn't expect to be out on the street this time at night. It had gotten late, and waiting for the bus to arrive during that witching hour would only make her hang out all alone in the dead of night for far longer than she wanted to. So Sasha had instead decided to walk. It was only 20 blocks or so anyways. What harm could it do? The streets were curiously deserted. Not that she was expecting too many folks to be strolling around at this time of night. But shouldn't she cross paths with at least the odd person every once and again? She was halfway there when she heard it. Footsteps right behind her. Sasha turned around in surprise, as she hadn't heard anything but the quietness of night till that very moment. Yet no one was there. Sasha stopped and looked around for a few seconds, frowning as the sound was no longer noticeable. She considered maybe she was just imagining things, as she was slightly scared to begin with. So, not without some hesitation, she kept moving forward. A few seconds slipped by, but soon enough the sounds of footsteps moving just behind her returned. Once again, no one was there. When she turned around, now truly freaked out, Sasha began running forward toward her home, just 8 blocks away. But behind her, the footsteps began rushing as well. Looking back, no one was there, but she could feel it. Someone was running toward her, and her heart began beating so fast in her chest, she was certain it would explode any second then. Though she feared someone would grab her before she reached her house, nothing happened. Nothing other than the sounds of someone moving right behind her. When she grabbed her keys and got ready to open the door, she was certain at least she'd be safe at last, in her own home, away from the darkness of the street. But just as she was about to place the keys in the lock, Sasha realized the noise no longer came from behind her. There was someone walking inside her apartment. Even though she could not actually see it, she could sense, without the hint of a doubt, that whoever, or rather, whatever had been following her home was now staring at her through the peeping hole. Her home was suddenly no longer the safe place she had hoped to reach. I hope you all enjoyed those stories. What was your favorite story I read tonight? Anyways, thanks for watching, or rather, listening. Leave a subscription if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.